Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Math Club. In this video we're going to talk about standard form and how to calculate using standard form. We're going to talk about question 16 and 17 together because they have the same ideas. Now, question 16, work out each calculation, give your answers in standard form. Same idea here with question 17, it's about work out. Now here we can notice that we have standard form or two standard forms and they are added or subtracted. We have two methods to do that. The first method, as I told you before, is using the calculator, solving the first part. Now this method might be the easiest for you because you understand how to turn between standard and ordinary. Now we're going to do this part alone in the calculator and this part alone, and then at the end we're going to add them. Same idea, we can do this part alone here in the calculator and this part alone, and then we subtract the answer and then we turn it into standard form. We can follow this method by using the calculator. Let's do this method for the first question here. So 5.1 times 10 power of 8. 5.1 times 10 power of 8. And the answer will be 51. Let's write the answer here. So it's going to be 51 with 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. This is the first part, this one. Now, let's do the second part, okay? The second part is this one. Let's do it here. 1.45 times 10 power of 8. 1.45 times 10 power of 8. So let's do it. 1.45 times 10 and the power is 8. And the answer will be 145 with 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is the first method that we're going to use by turning this with a calculator to ordinary. And same idea here, we're going to turn it into ordinary. And then we're going to add them. Same steps here, but you're going to subtract them. And then after adding them, we will get an answer here, equals. So let's add them. 5, 1 with 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Plus 1, 4, 5 with 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the answer will be 6, 5, 5 with 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, after getting my answer here, I'm going to turn this into standard form. And using the steps that we learned before, we understand that the decimal point is here. And we're going to move the decimal point like this to make this number between 1 and 10. So I'm going to move this point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. Now I moved the decimal point to put it here. Now I have 6.55. So I'm going to write it here. 6.55. And then I'm going to count how many times I moved. So I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times. So I'm going to multiply it by 10 and the power will be 8. And then I decide if the power is positive or negative by looking at the side that we moved to. And here in this question we move the decimal point to the negative part of the x-axis. It means the power will be positive. So it's going to be positive 8 like this. And this is the final answer for this question. Now you're going to follow the same method here by finding this and then subtracting, and then at the end you can turn it into standard form. Or you can use the second method. Now I'm going to explain the second method. The second method is easy too. You just have to focus on the powers. Now the second method, you have two different situations. Let me remove these first. The first situation is what? The first situation, if you have the same powers. If you have the same powers. I'm going to leave this here so you can see the answer. and check if it's the right answer. Okay, let me move these. Okay, good. Let's cover this. Okay, here. Now, as I said, you have two situations. The first one is what? The first one is having the same powers, and the second one having different powers. Now, if you have the same powers, you can use this method easily. What do you do? First thing you do, because you have the same powers, let me show you. Because this is 10 power of 8, make it smaller. Here. So, because here we have 10 power of 8 and here we have 10 power of 8, it means we can directly use 10 power of 8. So the second method, you have to focus here. If you have the same power, 10 power of 8 for example, you can directly put it as it is, 10 power of 8. And then what do? Second step you do, you take the other two numbers, 5.1 and 1.45, and you're going to do what? You're going to add them as the question says. If it's addition, you're going to add them. If it's subtraction like this one, you're going to subtract them. So, as I said, this method is easy if you have the same powers. As we have here, 10 power of 8, 10 power of 8. You just write the same power as we have, and then you take the two numbers and see what's between them, and then you add them. If it's addition, you add them. If it's subtraction, you subtract them. Now, for example, let's take a look at question A here. Here we have the same powers, 10 power of negative 7 and 10 power of negative 7, right? It means I can use the same power, which is 10 power of negative 7. 10 power of negative 7, like this. Now, after using the same power, now I'm going to take a look at the numbers, which are between 1 and 10. Here, I have, first one here, 9.6. 9.6. Let's make it green first. So here we have 9.6 and 6.9. And the sign between them is subtraction. The sign is subtraction. So we're going to subtract them. So we're going to say 9.6 minus 6.3. 9.6 minus 6.3. So 9.6 minus 6.3. And the answer will be 3.3. So the final answer will be 3.3. Like this. Let's make it blue. And this is the idea of this method. So this method is easy if you have the same powers. As I said, you can use any method that you like. You can use the first method by turning this into ordinary and this into ordinary, and then adding them, and then at the end turn the answer into standard. Or you can use this method if you have the same powers, just use it here, and then you take these and see what's between them. If it's addition, you add them. If it's subtraction, you subtract them. And this is the idea if you have the same powers. But if you have different powers, you have to make them the same. You have to make them the same. Now, making them the same will be a little bit confusing, but I will show you how to do that, okay? Now, we understand if you have the same powers what to do. Let's take a look if you don't have the same powers. Here, for example, let me show you. Let's take a look at this question here, D. We don't have the same powers. We have power of negative 3. Or let's use it with positive power first so you can know. Here. Now, here we have 10 power of 7 and 10 power of 6. They are not the same powers, so I can't add these unless I have the same powers. So, what do? We have to turn these into the same powers. How do we do this? Now, each power moves the decimal point. Each power moves the decimal point. Now, this is power of 7. It means one of the powers can move the decimal point from its place to the other place. For example, this is the decimal point. If I remove 1 from here, it means the number will become bigger. So the decimal point will come here, like this. That's the idea. Or I can make it smaller. Maybe it's easier to make it smaller by moving the decimal point to the other side. So I'm going to make this I'm gonna make this 7. If I'm making this 7, it means I'm gonna make this number smaller. So the decimal point will come to the other side, like this. So it's gonna be 0.42. So I moved the decimal point and I made it 0.42. So I'm gonna write 0.42. And I will tell you why making it smaller is easier, because at the end you'll end up with standard form. You don't have to move it again. So this one is 0. I made it 0.42 by moving the decimal point this way. And because I moved the decimal point to the negative side of the x-axis, or the left side, it means I'm going to add 1 to the power. So this one will be 10 power of 7. This one will be 7, like this. Okay, I'll remove this, and this one will be power of 7. Okay, now I made the powers the same, so they are the same powers now. After making the powers the same, I have 10 power of 7 and 10 power of 7 now. Now I can use the same method I started with, in which I have the same powers. It means I'm going to use it. So this answer will be multiplied by 10 power of 7 times 10 and the power of 7. Okay, and then what do? I add the numbers, because this is addition. I have to add the numbers. So 3.9 here. Let's make it green. 3.9. I add it with 0.42. 0.42. And you notice that because we turned 4.2 into 0.42, it means I don't use 4.2 anymore. So 0.42 plus 3.9. 0.42 plus 3.9. It's going to be 4.32 times 10 power of 7. And this is how you answer a question like this. You have to focus on the steps here. If you have the same powers, you're going to use the 10 with the power, the same, and then you come to the numbers and see what's between them. If it's addition, you add them. If it's subtraction, you subtract them. And if you don't have the same powers, it means you have to make them the same. Now, I know this method is confusing, so if you have different powers, go ahead and use the calculator method. Turn them all into ordinary. See what's between them. If it's addition, add them. If it's subtraction, subtract them. And then take the answer and turn it into standard form. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.